The year was 1998 when Morgan Heritage scored their breakthrough hit with Reggae Bring Back Love. And Gramps Morgan is here for our FiWi Culture segment to break down the backstory behind that massive song. Listen up.
Reggae bring back love in the hearts of the people. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love.
What was the whole idea behind this track?
Well, Reggae Bring Back Love, the whole idea behind that song was just saying at the time when Morgan Heritage was working in the studio with Bobby Digital and King Jammys, reggae was strong in our lives, you know? So it was just like, he was running the rhythm and there were several artists on it. We were recording the Don't Have to Dread album at the time. And we were headed to St. Thomas and I think it was Mikey Spice was in the studio at the time. And he was recording and he said, "I'm gonna go and write a tune to it." We took the cassette, back in those days it was cassette, and went in the car and was headed back to St. Thomas. Start the car, pushing the cassette, and me and Peter did it. And before we could pull off, the song came to us. And we went back into the studio and said, "Bobby, we're ready." He said, "What do you mean, we're ready?" And the rest is history. And that song ended up being like the national anthem for the year when the Reggae Boys went to the World Cup. So it became more like, a strong message saying that reggae has something to say. Reggae is joined now with sports. So I'll never forget that time when we performed Reggae Bring Back Love in the stadium for the Reggae Boys. So it was a great time in music.
It's all coming back, the way we used to vibes. Oh, brothers and sisters.
What do you recall about the recording session? What was the whole vibe and the energy like while putting the track together?
Well, I'll never forget because there was a bunch of artists there, and when we came in the studio, we was like, we want to go back to St. Thomas, because back then the drive to St. Thomas was 2 hours, and we were making that drive every day. And it was just a vibe, like Bobby was like, "I made them going," and Peter kicked it off, and we put on the background, and it was quick. It was the fastest song I would say that Morgan Heritage just ever recorded, because it was just, we got the cassette to write the song, and before you know it, we went in the car and had to turn right back around. So it was a fast, it wasn't like a long writing session and musicians. The track was already done, and we just went right to it and recorded the song.
Reggae bring back love all across the world, Lord.
Alright, Pree Dis family, we just left Bagwalk, now we're heading back through the toll to head to Kingston. I'm Eddie, this is Naldo, and we're closing out. See you next week.